Hey there, I'm Charles, and you're listening to the Foster Dad Directive podcast, where we analyze the foster care system. In this episode, we'll be talking about one of my least favorite topics, and that's honestly myself and my experience in my past. It's just one of those things where I feel I look a lot better on paper than I actually, all the stuff I went through. In each of the following podcasts, I'm going to be putting this disclaimer as well, just because of the importance and volatility of this topic. There's there's a lot of stuff I don't want to get misconstrued. A lot of it is going to be I found this. This might not be the right resource. There's going to be a lot of me putting in a maybe a complaint, something like that, filling out a form, and showing you what I do, and then once I figure out if it works or not, if that's the right avenue to go through, then I will pass that information on to you. So it's going to be a lot of me not knowing. So please know that I'm not a trained professional. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the hosts and in the future guest and do not constitute professional advice. Please ensure you seek adequate and effective legal counsel to best protect yourself. So, where I'm actually going to change a few of the podcast things up, including the script. I wasn't really a fan of the way I've wrote them so far, so I kind of just want to ensure that I create one that sounds good. I, when I tried to create it in a certain way, I was stumbling over my own words a lot. I really don't want that. I want it to flow. I want it to be a good listening experience because this is something I'm actually fired up about and actually want to make into something. If if even just to help say one person navigate this absolutely atrocious system. If you're watching on YouTube, unfortunately, I know the space sucks. Right behind me, right here, is my dresser, so I got like 10 foot of space. One of the first kids we were going to adopt, I had my computer room upstairs. Ended up giving it to her so she wouldn't have to share a room with like any of the other kids. So now I'm kind of stuck down here, and it's not really worth moving my stuff back up there just yet. I'm gonna go over the our youngest fosters and the current situation that they've gone through and their separation. The agency decided to send one to another state to live with a grandparent, which is great. It's reunification is always the best and should definitely be the goal if that's what should be taken, if that's the best avenue for the boys' best interest. But they took one child, sent them out of state, and left the other one here because they're working with their father to try to do reunification. But now you got two children who, for Lord knows how many months, are going to be separated. And anybody who's been long-term relation or long-distance relationship, just living away from your family, military deployments. I've done two of those, and I can tell you from personal experience, it was one of the saddest and hardest times of my entire life, being away from like essentially anyone for say 6 plus months, depending on when you got to take your leave. I'm gonna go over their guardian ad litem, I believe is how you pronounce it, and how I think she is actively working against us. Just seems to be not working in the boys' best interest. I think her main goal is reunification, but blindly doing that. She's not like looking at any of the other stuff because we made so many, just passed so much stuff on about how the boys' well-being's not taken care of by the agency and family, and yet she keeps filing complaints with the agency against us over stuff that is absolutely ridiculous. And we have absolute evidence against, so the complaint she made was asinine to say the least. So she has been an absolutely useless. We have gotten nothing out of her, and it makes me so mad. I absolutely hate that I have to file a bunch of complaints against a person who's supposed to be working in the boy's best interest. I'm I've also sent so many messages out to lawyers, MDHHS, the state of Michigan, trying to get some help. MDHHS looked into one of like a dental issue for one of the kids, but other than that, they haven't really been any help. I'm gonna try emailing the ACLU and like the governor, and then, as I mentioned in my last podcast, hopefully find the rep for my area, because nothing's getting done and it just seems to be devolving into an absolute like cesspool. I guess that's the best term. Um, I also did notice today when I was emailing back and forth with their case manager, his title is Case Manger. So he's their foster care case manger. And that's his signature in his email that I'm sure he's using with, you know, lawyers, judges, stuff like that. So that was pretty funny to see, because I'll go over him as well. He is absolutely incompetent. One of the first things he did when he took over their case was tried to get us to cut one of the kids' hair. We can't do that without permission from a parent or the agency or somebody who's not us. We can't go around making those decisions, and he was trying to tell us that we had to because family said we needed to do that. Family didn't have rights. They were not they did not take the boys in. They could say whatever they wanted, and it doesn't mean anything. So, into this episode, my name is Charles. I'm 35. I have helped raise numerous siblings. I have 5 siblings, and I had 3 step siblings from my dad's second marriage. So I got a lot of, being the oldest, got tons of time with my siblings that I do truly cherish. And I mean, at times we did grow up poor, so there were stints where, it was kind of chaotic. And that's not like a slam against my parents. Both of them worked. I mean, my dad was legally blind, and he would do things like dig trenches, dig graves for cash, stuff like that. So they always worked hard, and it was never anything that was like blatantly their fault. So it's definitely not a slam against them. When I did get first interviewed for the licensing, our worker did tell us that, like, compared to modern standards, we would definitely end up in the foster care system. But that's just because we lived with like other family members, and I mean that was kind of normal from what I can recall back in the 90s. I mean, it would have been normal to stay with somebody else when some chaotic event was going on, just so everybody could get everything situated. I was finance in the Army for 4 years. I had 2 deployments, one to Iraq, one to Afghanistan. So, like, with the boys of separation, I have a ton of experience on being separated from my family members. I watched, like, I actually told my great grandma she was passing that I was deploying to Afghanistan. So it's not like I had good memories based on those long distances and being away from siblings and everything. I've wanted to start a podcast for a while. Uh, it's just I had one where I was trying to do one that was gaming related. It was way too much work. I wasn't truly passionate about it. I love video games. I love learning, but there's also a lot of work that goes into it, and even this one's a lot of work, but this one I'm passionate about and actually want to get fired up and want to get things changed. And then I had another one I wanted to start about addiction, because I've drank since I was 17, so like I want to do that and then hold myself accountable. At some point I do want to get like 100% sober. I quit smoking fully, finally kicked it last year after about 16 years. And so I mean, that's one big hurdle and like one massive accomplishment. I've also been a criminal justice major. I have my bachelor's in criminal justice. I worked in the prison system here in Michigan for 3 years, a little bit over. That was just one of those things where, honestly, I, I'm a white guy. Nobody really wants another white guy in power like that and law enforcement. And I felt more of a connection to the inmates in a weird way than I did administration. And it was just one of those things where I was working 16s every other day. I was exhausted. I was miserable. One Christmas Eve, my brother begged me to stay for Christmas, to call my boss and ask if I could have the day off, which was absolutely heartbreaking. So that was kind of the nail in that coffin. Is once your brother begs you to stay for Christmas, it it kind of shows you what's truly important in that. And I still have massive respect for my friends that still work in law enforcement. It's a hard job. I definitely do not miss it at all. And so why do we become foster parents? Well, a close family friend is battling drug addiction, and we wanted to be prepared in case the kids went into foster care. That way, they'd have somewhere stable to go. I mean, we've done it with the assistance of our family. My roommate, especially, he's helped a ton. I had another buddy who was living with us. He's helped me out a ton. Yeah, my family's always supported the kids, always treated them like family, never kind of treated them different or like they weren't included in family events, holidays, all of that. They've always been super supportive. Even when we put in our 30 days for the first kid we had, which I'll go over, they actually told us that we needed to not do that and then give her a chance. And I'll go over it and why we had to and everything. But they've always been super supportive of everything and absolutely necessary for our success, to be honest. So far, in 2.5 years, we've had 7 placements. They've ranged from the ages of 1.5 to 18. We've had 4 girls, 3 boys. 5 of them were teenagers, and the most recent 2 that I'll probably talk about a lot about are under the age of 10. So one's 2 and the other one's 8. I'll have podcasts that cover honestly every case, every one of the situations. Won't go into personal details, obviously, to protect their privacy and everything, but go over what happened, what I feel happened, what I could have done differently, if I could have done anything differently, what I learned from it, because there's a lot I've learned over the last 2.5 years. Our longest placement has actually been a year and 2 months. That one kind of went under too, unfortunately, which was hard. We've had different goals, like for each child. We've had a vast array. We've had adoption, reunification, guardianship, independent living. At some point, I'll go over all them different terms and do like a podcast about each of those and what they mean. We've dealt with runaways. We had one teen blackmail us. One of the most recent teens actually abused our cat upstairs. Like I said earlier with the cutting of the hair, we've had overreaching family. We've had lies and false information from the family agencies, their GAL. They haven't paid us mileage in 2.5 years. They've paid us one mileage check for about 800 miles out of about 16,000 or so. So, I mean, it's, it's never going to be about the money, but 16,000 miles is a lot. That's oil changes, wear on my tires, everything for my vehicle, and they've always lived in school or schooled far away from our house. So that's we've always never wanted to up and move them and force them into a new school and throw that turmoil on top of them. So we've always worked with it. It's never been an issue. I had chaotic work schedules to make it happen, but we did it. The least the agency could have done is pay mileage. We've had constantly changing workers, minimal and subpar training. The training for some of the stuff is absolutely a joke. We've had hostile children who've threatened Cassie. We've had damaged and destroyed property. Technology issues is a major one. My biggest suggestion if you're fostering, do not do a phone. If you're going to do it, get an iPhone, put like the max restrictions on it so they can text you, let you know, hey, I'm done with school, hey, I'm here. But honestly, there's just way too much for technology issues normally, and then you add on top of it kids who are already going through so much that you just end up seeing so many more issues, and it just ramps everything up. And one of the last things I have on here is untaught basic human functions. The 8-year-old we had didn't know you were supposed to wipe after you go number 2 when we first got him. So he also once peed his pants because he was out playing and didn't want to come inside and use the bathroom. It's just one of those things where you never truly know what you're getting into until you go through it. Like I never would have thought any of this was even possible for the most part. When we started fostering, I figured it was going to be hard. I did not figure that this was going to happen. And honestly, it's been worth it. I mean, especially the 2 little ones. They watching like the smaller one or the younger one was about 1.5 when we got him, and he's about 2.5 now, because we've had him for like a year. So, and just seeing him go from a kid who is super malnourished, couldn't talk, do anything, barely stand, to a little kid that runs around. He'll pick on you and smirk and knows exactly what he's doing. He babbles on and on and on. He could talk for like an entire hour. Even like the 8-year old, all the stuff that he learned, he went from not being able to read a single word at 8 years old to being able to write his name, be able to read. It's all been, I mean, those two alone, out of all the chaos we've dealt with for the last 2.5 years, have made everything absolutely worth it. So I hope this podcast reaches people and we can get it to a point where it's good. I'm, like I said last one, very introverted, so this is all new territory for me. I'm eventually want to get like a new mic, a new setup, new lighting in here, make it more enjoyable. I don't want to sink a bunch of money into it, especially if no one's going to listen to it and then talk into the void. I mean, it doesn't make sense in that aspect. So at some point, I want to get professionals on here. I do have a friend who is a therapist. I want to get her on here, talk about what to look for and to avoid in a therapist. Horror stories, I have a few. I know she has a few too, because, yep, even a therapist has a therapist, and kind of want to go over the not falling into that, I guess it'd be like a trope of therapy is weak. I've lost two friends in corrections because they didn't reach out. And you don't have to suffer alone. It's not weak to talk to somebody and bounce ideas off them. It's not like you have to tell them all your deepest, darkest secrets. My last one, I'd bounce stuff off from him, and half the time I answered my own questions, just bouncing ideas off from him. And it was beneficial. I just didn't like that it seemed like he was more preoccupied with other stuff. I mean, even if it's virtual, at least pretend to look at me and be interested in what I have to say. So, with any luck, I really hope this podcast starts to reach people and we can reach, people in different parts of the system. I'm hoping that if I email the governor and more representatives, state reps around Michigan, and talk to like therapists and caseworkers and everything, that we can gather resources so anybody who comes here looking for information on the foster care system, who feels alone, feels like they don't know what's going on, not being able to be told what everything that they should be and that they're entitled to. So I thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, share this with friends and family that you think might like it. If you don't like it and you want to support me, just mute it and have it run in the background. Give me some plays. I would appreciate it so much. You can email me with any information at fosterdaddirective@gmail.com. If you have feedback, ideas, stories, if you want to be on the podcast, if you think you or somebody else would be a good co-host, I think that'd be amazing to have somebody else to riff off from and make it a little more entertaining. I know it's probably horrible just sitting here listening to me, but yep, over the next few podcasts, we'll be I plan on going over each one of the cases we've had. I plan on going over documents I'm going to be filling out later tonight. I'm going to be filling out those emails. I'm going to go over exactly what I put in them. I'll fill in updates later on about what happens. I plan on doing episodes, and then I'll do maybe like midweek little updates, just kind of to break it up so I don't have too much information all in one podcast. So I want to thank you so much for listening. I appreciate each of you, especially as supportive as my family's been. I hope all remains quiet on the foster front, and thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.